This problem is a system of nonlinear equations, and we're supposed to solve it. So we're going to do that. Now, you basically have the same tools that we had before, substitution and elimination method or addition method. I did it when I did the answer key, I did the addition method, but I'm going to go ahead and show you substitution because we haven't done one like that. And it's kind of set up that way. So I can substitute x squared minus 6 into this equation. So for y. So I'm going to have x squared plus, and then it's going to be x squared minus 6 squared, that's the y right here, equaling 8. Okay, so if you multiply that out, you're going to get x squared plus x to the fourth minus 12x squared plus 36 equals 8. And that's what it looks like. So when you combine like terms, you're going to have x to the fourth minus 11x squared. You'll need to subtract the 8. Subtract 8, subtract 8. Okay, plus 28 equals 0. Now, this is in the form of a quadratic equation. You could use a substitution, or you can just factor it with x squared. So it's going to factor into x squared minus 4 and x squared minus 7. So that's true. Like I said, you could use a substitution if you wanted to see it that way. I think I'm going to show you both methods for solving this, but this is one way. Okay, so now you get x squared minus 4 equals 0, and x squared minus 7 equals 0. So this is going to be x squared equals 4. Now, when you take the square root of both sides, you have to remember the plus or minus. So you're going to get x equals plus or minus 2. And then when we do the similar thing over here, you're going to take the square root of both sides, and you're going to get x equals plus or minus the square root of 7. So you have 4 answers for x. Okay, that's great. Now, if you're going to find y, you'll have to go back and use the, let's see, where do I want to write this? Y equals x squared minus 6. So that's this equation coming back to help you out. Okay, so you plug in 2, and you square it, and you subtract 6, and you get y equals negative 2. Well, that's going to be an ordered pair then. Now remember, I plugged in 2 for x. So one answer is 2, negative 2. If I were to plug in a negative 2 for x, negative 2, I'm going to get the same answer out because when you square it, it's going to be positive 4 minus 6. Okay, I won't write that out, but I can. Okay, now I'm going to have to think about in terms of the square root of 7, right? Okay, so if you take y equals x squared minus 6, but you plug in the square root of 7 and you square it and subtract 6, you're going to get 7 minus 6, which is 1. So one of the answers is the square root of 7, comma 1. And the similar idea is if I plug in negative square root of 7, I'm also going to get a 1. So these are 4 separate answers for this system of equations. And we're going to graph this in a minute and show you how that's working. By the way, the square root of 7 is about 2 point something. Let me see if I have it right now. 2.6. Okay, so just keep that in mind. I'm going to show you the other way that I solved it on the answer key. I took this top equation and I moved x squared to the other side. So negative x squared plus y equals negative 6. And then x squared plus y squared equals 8. When you do that, these x squareds cancel out, which is great. But then you have y squared minus y, plus y equals 2. And when you subtract 2, this is quadratic, this factors, and you get y plus 2 and y minus 1. Yeah. Okay, so you get y equals negative 2 and y equals 1. And then you can go back and plug it in to that top equation if you want. You're plugging in y equals x squared minus 6. Well, if I put in a -2 for y, because this time I solved for y, and I add the 6, I'm going to get 4 equals x squared. Take the square root of both sides, and you're going to get plus or minus 2 for x. And so what that means was what it means is when y was -2, x was 2, or when y was -2, x could have been a -2. So you get those two answers. And then you can do the same thing with the 1. So put a 1 in for y, add the 6, and you get x equals plus or minus the square root of 7. So you're going to have positive square root of 7 comma 1 and negative square root of 7 comma 1. So you get the same answers. Sorry. The tricky part here was the graphing to check it, right? Okay, so what our equations were y equals x squared minus 6. That is a quadratic equation. It's a parabola, and it's shifted down 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's the vertex. And this is how I did it on the answer key. Let's see. You could go a little bit more. And you get this nice little parabola. But the graph paper's small, and it might be hard to kind of get those points graphed just perfectly. Okay, the other equation was x squared plus y squared equals 8. Well, this is a circle. It's centered at the origin. And the radius is the square root of 8, which is about, I think, 2.3, 2.8. Now that's going to be hard to graph, a little bit hard. So it's not quite 3 in each direction. Let's see. So there's the circle. And it kind of looks like that. It's really hard to see that it intersects at 4 points. Now, where are those points? Well, 2, -2. So 2, -2 is right there. Okay, I can see my circle's probably off. -2, 2. That one looks pretty close. Okay, so that one, oops. And then the square root of 7, which we said was 2.6. So 2.61, which is about there. Okay, that kind of looks right. And then 2.6, I'm sorry, yeah, -2.61, which is about there. That one looks off a little more, but it's in the ballpark. These are the answers. So you would list all 4 of those ordered pairs. But I'm going to show it to you in Desmos, and you'll be able to see it really clear. Okay, so I'm hoping you can see this, but now I'm in Desmos. If I type in the first equation, which was x squared minus 6, there, it instantly shows it. I can slow that down, but I didn't. Okay, so that's one equation, and now I'm going to do the other one, which is x squared plus y squared equals 8. And now you can see it like perfectly drawn. And you can see where those points are of intersection. Right here, that was the -2.6 comma 1. And then down here, which was 2, -2. This one, which was -2, -2. And this one, which was -2.6, which -2.6 is the square root of 7. 1. So you can see those 4 points of intersection in Desmos really clearly. It doesn't help you when you're graphing them by hand, but it was close when we were graphing it by hand. I just thought it might help you to see that in Desmos. Desmos is free. You can do that online. Okay. But on your test, you have to graph by hand. Sorry.